sweet, she's salty, she's smart and craves chocolate every day. Here is your host, the Greek goddess of comedy, Ellen Karis.
Hello everybody and welcome to Sweet and Salty with Ellen Karis. Today we have a guest, very, very excited, someone that I like very, very much. I don't get to see as much as I would like, but anyway, I did see him a few months ago. I said, come on my podcast. He said yes right away because that's the kind of guy he is, and we are here. But before we get to him, got to thank our sponsor, Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's also called an insert, and you put it in your shoe. Why? Because you need to. Everything starts from the feet up, from the ground up. You need it for your arches, your knees, your hips, your back, your entire alignment. I have these in all of my sneakers, Uggs, which have no support whatsoever, although they're so comfortable. They are so fantastic. And what makes these special is that there is an adjustability in the arch where you can adjust the arch to firm, or extra firm, depending on what your needs are. If you pronate, if you have flat feet, I'm telling you right now, these are for you. Go to their website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com. There's a 30-second video, shows you how it works. And if you order through the website, you can get a 25% discount if you type in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY 25, because you, my listeners, I feel, are like my family, except I fight a lot less with you guys. So just go. And it's, I'm telling you right now, these are the best inventions since suitcase on wheels. And we thank them for their support. Get it? I wrote it. I know, it's amazing. I'm not in advertising. All right. So let's get to someone that I really, truly don't see enough. I'm excited that he's here. He is a very, very funny stand-up comedian for many, many years. He also does a podcast with Davin Rosenblatt, who we haven't had actually on the podcast, who we should, called Davin's Den. And he's a musician. He's a Long Island guy. Very funny, very interesting. Please give it up for my friend. I consider him my friend, yes. Joe Currie.
Hi, how you doing, Ellen? You are my friend. Thank you so much. And I miss working with you too. It's been a while.
I know. Sorry, we have no applause button or production team, so I just do it myself. So yeah, thank you. And then maybe someday I'll get a new neck. But anyway, so Joe, I'm going to say something about you right off the bat, and a
lot of people do. Hope it's flattering.
It is. And I'll tell you why. Because I always remember the people that were really nice to me when I started out, and like from the get-go. And you were absolutely one of them. And you've been nice to me from like day one, which is like 20 years ago at this point, okay? Because we've been in it for you. I think you've been in it a lot longer than me, but that's how long we've been doing this dance. And you've been the same nice to me from day one as you are when I see you. And I always appreciated the people that were nice to me in the beginning, because stand-up comedy it's insanity. I mean,
it's insanity. And the thing about it is that my dad died when I was a kid. And basically, I was a lonely kid. I was an only child. And the thing that got me through it was George Carlin's Class Clown. I heard that. My life changed. His other album, Takeoffs and Put-Ons, and also Cheech and Chong. And it saved me. And I've always felt that no matter where I am in this business, what this business does to me, where I go, I always owed comedy. I always owe it, and I love it. I love the people in it. I love being part of it. And anybody that's new that comes in or whatever, you're welcome. You're welcome to be aboard, because it takes guts to do this. I mean, it really does. To go out there, stand on stage, and hope what you're saying is funny. Also, Rob Bartlett did something really cool. Yeah, I'm passing what Rob did on years ago, and I'm talking 30 years ago. When Adam Ferrara started, Adam was at this club in Huntington called Top of the Town. And at that gig that night was Rob Bartlett. I think I just started. Adam was in a year and a half. And Anthony was years away from, Anthony Cumia from Opie and Anthony was years away from doing radio. And Rob took us aside and taught us that night a lot of stuff about the business. And I never forgot that. And I saw Rob at a party about 3 years ago, and I told him the story. And I go, I just want you to know that I've been passing it on to any new comic. I've been passing it on. From that night, you passed it on to us. And he gave me a hug, but it's true. You know, I mean, there is just something about stand-up that I love. There's no other place I'd rather be than a club on a weekend or any time. I love going to the mics. I was at one of the mics last night. So I love the business. So it's, you know, to me, a fraternity, you know, and anybody that, you know, wants to be in it and have the guts to get up there and do it, bare your soul, try to make people laugh. It's a family, you know?
Okay, there's so much to dissect in what you just said. First of all, I want to mention most people will listen to the podcast via audio. We are on YouTube if anybody wants to see it, but I would encourage them not to look at me, but to look at Joe, because Joe, I think you're aging backwards. I think there's like a Benjamin Button thing going on with you. Like, I can't, I'm serious. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but I want to go to your facialist. But that's, I mean, Rob, I worked with Rob Bartlett. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
The lovely man, a veteran of the business. And if anybody doesn't know him, he was one of Don Imus's sidekicks for many, many years. He does impressions, he sings, he dances. He's so talented.
A beautiful man.
And he started out, if I remember the story correctly, it was the triplets, and it was him and Eddie Murphy, and they called themselves the triplets. And there was somebody else, I forgot. So he's been around a long time. And Long Island is a very, very special comedy scene. It's different from Manhattan. It's certainly different from LA. It's first of all, this is the most amazing, great, famous comics have come out of Long Island, as we know: Jerry Seinfeld, Rodney Dangerfield, and Kevin James, Ray Romano, and it breeds comedy. It's had comedy clubs there for a very long time, and some of those same comedy clubs, like Governors and Brokerage, stuck around. Yeah. And it didn't get infested by the chain, the comedy club chain, which maybe, I'm not saying that would have been a bad thing, but maybe that's why it kept its small town, and everybody's like a family kinship and support system.
Yeah. There's a very big support system in kinship in this. And what I find fascinating too is like the groups of comics that start together, and there's all sorts of different groups. You know, my group is George Gallo, Paul Bond, Rich Walker, and stuff like that. We all started together. Gage. We all started together. And you would go to mics together and stuff like this. Also, when I had to step out of it for a couple of years after my mother died, I left it in '92, got back into it in '97. And when I got into it in '97, everything changed because the boom was over. All the clubs closed. You're like, where do I go? Where do I go from here? You know, what do I do? And then I give a big thanks to Benny Rizzuti, who's a comic on the other. He had a coffee house in East Islip. And the great thing about that is that you had kids, grandparents, parents in this coffee house having basic, and which forced you to write clean. And it helped a lot of us because from the get-go, out of the gate, we had to learn to write clean. And also to this day, there's people out there that's helped it. Steve Rocco Perillo, a comic out on here, gets a big tip of the hat because when COVID hit, he put together these workshops. We call them workshops. Essentially a mic, but it's a workshop. And it was just comics in a bar. And it was a private event, and that's what kept it going. It wasn't public. It was the camaraderie and doing it. And which before the pandemic, I actually thought that how much do I really want to do this anymore? You know what a grind this is. And then everything stopped. And then Steve started to do these. And just the simple fact that you've got a piece of paper with 10 things you're trying to make work, which is the thrill of the chase, the camaraderie with the other comics, no matter where I go in my career, this was the bones, the bare bones of why I want to do this and why I always want to do this. And then it just exploded. The scene for mics and working on material is crazy now. It's great, crazy good. There was a place, Alibi in Farmingdale. I was at Alibi last night. There were at least about 20 guys working on stuff. And there was another mic across the street. And, you know, I didn't have the chance to go there. I wanted to head home. But just starting, this is amazing. I started in 89, 88. We didn't have that. We had maybe one or two things. So I think it's really grown. I think there's a great group of new guys, you know, new ladies out there as well. So comedy is moving along. You know, it's doing okay.
Yeah, yeah, and it comes in all or it is had in all different venues, because people always think just club.
Yeah.
And people like you and I do a lot more than just clubs. And if we had to survive on just clubs, at least, well, I'll speak for myself. It would not be pretty. So we do a lot of private things. And again, great thing about Long Island is there's tons of gated communities. People have house parties. I mean, Long Island's like I know that it's a family-oriented place, but it's also like a party place. Like people like to go out and have fun, except they want to have a home and not an apartment like in New York. You know,
and there's something special about comedy that Davin and I were doing a community last Friday night, and before the show we were talking, and we were both having woe is me moments in his business, and we start to do the show, and it's in front of literally 8 people at this condo community, 8 of the sweetest people you'd ever want to meet. You know, I was going to do 20 minutes. I did wind up doing 35. Davin did almost an hour. And after the show, this woman comes up. She moved from, I believe, Israel or Russia in the 80s. You know, and she's saying how much she loves this country. She looked at us and she said, I just want to let you know that I've been dealing with a lot of health problems and I've been very down. She goes, you two made my night tonight. I want to thank you very much. That's something that, you know, you feel so good about, that regardless of everything else, you have this gift. And, you know, I'm not going to be conceited. It is a gift because you have to have the internal thing to be funny. You can't learn to be a painter. You have to be born with it. You can learn to be a better painter. You have to be born with that comic thing in you and to learn to be better at it. So for the simple fact that you've got this gift and it's helping people that are depressed or down, it's kind of a good feeling, and you're kind of happy that you do this.
Well, I always say you have to love it. It has to be a passion. The on stage part. The rest of it is horrific. Getting the work, all of that. You know, I think most of the time, like, we pay to schlep. It's schlep pay is really what it is. For certain things. So you have to want to do this, or else you should get professional help immediately, perhaps meds if you're not adverse to taking them, because it's too hard. Like, I always say that I wished I wanted to be an astronaut, because I probably would have went to the International Space Station by now, you know. It's a grind. It's a grind. So you have to love to do it. When you hit that stage, you have to
have that thing, because like I said, they were doing 2 mics last night, and it was a long day for me. I go to the mic at Alibi. The mic there was so many comics, and I got there late, and it was about an hour before I got on. I was the last guy on, so we get done, and the guy running it tells me, he goes, oh, there's a mic across the street. And I look and I see it's still crowded, and I go, I got to get home. It's 10 o'clock. And I was beating myself up on the way home that I didn't go to the other mic. I've been at this for 23 years, going on 24 years. And it kind of made me feel good that I do have that thing where, okay, it did okay here. I need to go here and do it. It's something that's in us that you can't explain it to, you know, other people. It's like my ex-wife, my girlfriend. I don't understand why you do this. If you don't do it, it can't be explained to you.
Well, the civilians don't get it, and I don't expect them to get it. I give up on that a long time ago. But it's just something that in you, the creative, the joke, the crafting it, working, not working. Taking something that was really long, and then it just maybe wound up morphing into a tag, you know.
And the frustrating thing is, it happens all the time where you have this big whole thing, and I'm going to do this dissertation, And when I get done, they're going to walk me out on their shoulders. And you hope the car's running. Yeah, get out of there. But yeah, by the time and that's the thrill of the chase, because by the time you go, it's working. That page is down to a paragraph, if that.
Right.
That's the process.
Yeah.
That's the process.
That's the writing process. I'm actually in the middle of trying to write a one-woman show about my great-grandmother, about her. And I am finding it, first of all, I've had the idea for 10 years, which is pathetic.
Right.
I finally started to put it down on paper a couple of years ago. And now I'm trying to work with somebody also to, just help me, because it's all completely different art form. And I'm taking some creative license because you got to make it, you got to add something to it. I mean, there definitely are things that in her life that are there and on paper, but you got to kind of fill in the gaps and put a few other things in there. And just sitting there trying to write this, I was like, I have such great respect for, Lin-Manuel and, Mike Birbiglia. I mean, Colin Quinn, who churn out this stuff like you and I churn out like a new bit. And it's just, how do they do it? It's because it's a story and it blows my mind. So I'm kind of going through that, but I'm trying to get out of my head and just do it, because that's another thing. Well, at least that's an issue I have. So
yeah. We were working on this project. It was actually a story about my life, which isn't, it's not like amazing life, but still, it's a story about me trying to get my band signed, trying to make it in stand-up. I have two friends that made it and I didn't, like, Anthony Currie from Opie and Anthony, one of my best friends in the world. Adam Ferrara is one of my best friends in the world. We both, were close. We're still close. Look, but their careers went a lot better than mine. So we did this, and one of the people, we did a focus group. We did a table read, and one of the people goes, or they were pitching it to. He goes, well, he plays in a band. He does stand-up comedy. Does a podcast, and all of them saying that doesn't seem believable. I go, that was my week.
Right.
So it's weird to try to put it all together. I've also had this other project called The Weight of the World about weight loss that me and my partner, Camille Halpern, have been working on. And life gets in the middle of it. And we were starting to film and then we had to stop. We're going to film. There's just so much to do because I see your schedule. You've got so much going on too. It's where do you assign the time to do stuff? That's a tough question,
Right. And still, you have a life and you have other responsibilities. Yeah. It's not just this. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm in a lull right now. I'm not as booked as I want to be. And, but then I'm thinking, well, maybe because of I need the time to do this.
I was just going to say that.
If you have any faith, I mean, I really am a faithful person, and I'm so bullshit. But then when it comes to this, I don't understand. How come? And it's like, how come? Because God's giving you the time to write this, and
right. So use that lull time.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I hit a bit of a lull. I'm pretty busy now. But I got to get my website up. And I use that lull time when we're coming. I go, well, I got to do this, and this, and this, and try to, make the time to do other stuff, because there's always something to do. But,
So I want to gloss over it. So that show, is it a TV show about your life and like your two friends that made it? I mean, that sounds great. Like that sounds
we were working on it, and then we fell behind. We got to go to one of the riders. I want to find what's going on with it, because we did do a table read. We're going to do a second table read, but I think we had a different vision, and I don't knew where it went. So we're trying to get in touch with the person we worked with, who's a really good guy, and find out what happened. But the funny thing is, we did the table read, and we get done with it, and a woman doesn't realize I'm the guy. She's sitting a couple of chairs down. She goes, so let me get this straight. His friends made it, and he didn't, and he's still struggling. She goes, oh, that's so sad. It's like, lady, it's going to be okay. It's all right. It's okay. All right. Good. So
So
it's okay.
funny. Oh my God. Let's send him a Harry and David basket or something.
Yeah, really. I could use it. I love the fruit. I don't know how to
I
get
know.
that fresh.
The chocolate covered cherries don't suck either.
Yeah, really.
So well, that sounds great. So I want to talk about you being a musician. So where, because I've never heard your music. Where'd that start? I mean, that's
well, basically, the two things I've always wanted to be was play in a band or be part of a band or be a comic. And so basically, what it was is that my biggest musical influence was the Partridge Family. I saw those guys. I'm like, I got to be part of this. So I had a friend that lived 2 doors up from me, and he had a band there. And I heard them playing, and I would watch them play, and I go, I've got to be part of this. And the good thing about it is I still play with these guys. I'm talking about 1978. One of them is Anthony's brother, Joe. Joe Currie, who's a phenomenal musician. And I would be a roadie for those guys. And then years progressed through the 80s. We had a couple of bands, As Is, Finster. And then we had this one band, Rot Gut, with Joe and Anthony. We did all parodies. And we almost made it. But the one thing about it is that there was a parody that we did with O.J. Simpson. WBAB was asking for parodies about O.J. Simpson. And then we did Gonna Shock O.J. To Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. And Opie liked the song and invited Anthony and Joe to come down. They would play the song. And Anthony just, did his whole shtick. And Anthony wound up hooking up with Opie and getting on. And now our band Rock Gut, we continued, but I continued another couple of bands that I had, Race Odyssey and then Sexy Susan, which is a conglomeration. My current band now is a really good band. It's called Fragile Sky. You go to fragilesky.com or fragileskymusic.com. We do heavy rock, kind of progressive. And we got a new lead singer. We got our old drummer back. So I'll watch it. Fragile Sky, really good band. We're going to start booking gigs. We'll probably be out there probably this summer. We'll be out there. So it's the best of both. I do, did I make it major league in doing it? I know, but I'm doing the two of the things I loved. And I did, we've opened up for Ace Frehley, opened up for one of my favorite bands in the 80s, Y&T. We opened for Zebra all the time, a big band, on the island. So, it's fun. It's a lot of work, but when, it's fun, and I like it. I love it. That's what I do.
What instrument do you play?
Keyboards. Keyboard player.
Keyboards. Oh my God. Do you play anything else but the keyboards? Or, I mean, that's
no, maybe sing like a hinge, but no, I play keyboards. Yeah,
and you sing? And you sing?
Yeah. In one band, we do a Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band called Funky Monks. And when we do that, I sing all the high, because I can sing the highs, so I'll sing all the highs in the background and stuff like that.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Elwood, on Long Island, the town of Huntington and the Elwood section.
Elwood section.
Yeah. Where did you grow up, by the way?
In the city, for the most part. Yeah. So when you say venues and booking, where can people find you? Like, is it going to be like in the summer, like outside? Is it? It's gonna be Long Island actually has a lot of tribute bands, and there's a lot of like Jones Beach, and there's like a lot of places where they play music on Long Island.
Yeah, what we're doing is the original clubs are tough to get people to come see original bands. So what we're doing is we're going to be doing some cover tunes, heavy cover tunes. I'm working on that right now. So we'll probably be at like, not Revolution. Where is it? 89 North and at Patchogue, maybe Stereo Garden, the Warehouse, places like that. So we're just putting together the set, and then we're going to start to get bookings. So we're going to be doing the originals and that.
I definitely want to come see you. This is like on my to do for the summer. I want to get out and listen to some music. Eric and Susan's Tartaglione.
Yeah.
Obviously. So like they were always like, come out. And like I'm always seeing Susan's pictures. I'm like, I gotta get out. Like I gotta get out of the house.
Well, I tell you, sometimes I go to shows. I'll tell you a couple of stories. Sometimes I go to shows. Now there was one night, there was a band, all females, phenomenal players, and they played all heavy metal cover tunes. They were playing at a place in Katie's in Smithtown. Eric and I and Joe DeVito are working at McGuire's in Bohemia. So I was emceeing, Eric is middle, and Joey's closing. So Eric comes up to me. He goes, "Yeah, I hope we get the show over quick." I go, "Why?" "I'm going over to Katie's, and I forgot the name of the band, but they were great. I'm going to see so." I go, "They're playing at Katie's?" "Yeah." And I go, "All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the gig. We're going to head over there." Right? So I go up to Joe. I go, "Listen to me." I go, we're going to go see them." I go, "They play Iron Maiden to the T." I go, "Let me tell you something. You go up there. Don't find yourself as an artist closing, okay? Because if I miss the Flight of Icarus, I'm going to kick your ass. Get me?" So we cut the show about 20 minutes so we can go there. We get done, Eric and I head there, and the girl, and we're meeting with the girls. Go, "Oh God, we love you. You guys are." And one of the guitar players playing this band Vixen back in the day. And I go, "I got to tell you, we're comics. We had our show. We cut our show 20 minutes short to come see you." She started laughing, and also I went to see Rush with Eric's wife, because Eric had a gig, and because he invited me to go, and he had the extra ticket, and he asked if I could go. I took Eric's ticket, and we're seeing Rush, and Eric's wife left all of a sudden, and I'm like, "Where did she go?" And I'm like, "Where did she?" And I'm like, "Holy!" And I got to explain to Eric that he. So I saw her. I go, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, I went to the ladies' room." She goes, "I was feeling tired, so I knew you were having a good time, so I headed home." I'm like, "I wish you shot me a text. I have to explain to your husband. I don't know." So they're very sweet couple, and it's always good to go out and see bands with them.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I actually am like an old disco queen. Like I love that music.
Right.
I love to dance because you can really dance to it, So I really like that. I like that music as well. But
I get an appreciation for disco now. When it was in its heyday, I was a very, very big Southern rock fan. Charlie Daniels, Marshall Tucker, Allman Brothers, Molly Hatchet, and that stuff was just awful. Hated it. even had a shirt with a Pink Panther on it saying "Disco sucks."
Yeah, for sure.
But now that I'm older, more sophisticated in my musical league, I love this stuff. I think it's phenomenal. It was so good.
Oh my God, so fun! It's so fun. I work out to it. I go to a dance studio, and they play a lot of just good dance, technical music.
Yeah.
So you are good friends with Anthony Cumia, who some people know, a lot of people know. He had a very successful radio show called Opie and Anthony, which is if you're from the New York area, you totally know who he is. He's a very interesting guy. I saw him at the governor's Christmas party. So he
what are you talking about that?
He just, after he was, the Opie and Anthony had their run, he created his own station, Compound Media, and has all of his own shows. He's got people, it's premier membership. You have to pay for it, obviously, because this stuff doesn't, just pay for itself. Very successful. And that impresses me so much. The whole business model, what he's come to do with it. And if you do know Anthony Cumia, his politics are not the Hollywood norm. And I love that, because I feel like the right gets suppressed, and you don't have to agree with it. It's totally fine. I mean, it's supposed to be America, and you're supposed to be able to, express your opinion without being penalized. That's just not the way it goes. And I love Anthony's, I don't give a shit. This is how I, what I think, how I feel, this and that, and just created his own empire. And that's
and it was a very big, and a big round of applause has to go to Keith Maresco, who's known on the show as Keith the Cop, because what happened was when Anthony got fired, and Anthony got fired for taking a picture of this woman and tweeting stuff about this woman that actually physically accosted him, And basically, it happened during the 4th of July weekend. If this happened like overnight, I don't think anything would have happened. It just blew up. So what happened? He let Anthony go. Now, Anthony had a full studio in his basement of his house, which we called the Compound. It was a beautiful house. He sold it. He's building another one down in South Carolina. Beautiful house, had a theater, had the studio in there, had everything. We called it the Compound. And he had the studio. It used to be called Live from the Compound. As a matter of fact, some of the Gavin's Den shows were from there. We would tape down there. But what Keith told him is, look, he goes, you have this studio in your basement and you have this opportunity to build your own thing. You should take advantage of it. And Anthony said, all right, this was July, the middle of July. He goes, we need to be up and running by Labor Day or people are going to forget us. And those guys, to their credit, worked like hell, getting all the tech set up, getting everything ready to roll. And by September 1st, they were rolling. Everything was going fine at the house. The only problem with the house was that you're trying to get people to come out of to the island. Kind of rough. Got to get a car. Got to take the train. Somebody's got to come get you. So they said, we need a place in the city and we need it centrally located. Once again, they did a phenomenal job. They found a place on 35th Street, a block away from Penn. Anybody can get there. And they got the studio there. So they've been going on, I guess it's going to be going on 6 years. And they have, they had the platform. They have some great shows going on there. Yeah, kudos to him. He worked hard. He does very well. He's always had that gift. And I always used to get frustrated with him because basically when Adam started, I'm like, well, I got to try this, And when I started, I'm like, yeah, take a ride with me at the Concom Comedy down to the Brokerage, down to one of the club that used to be Chuckles. Meet the guys. I'm going to watch TV. You knew you had the most brilliant comedy mind just sitting there. And when he got on Opie and Anthony and started just the bits and everything, I was so happy to see that people can enjoy what I've enjoyed since I was 16 years old with him, and to watch him grow his station, it's an amazing thing. And he's got a really great people working on there. So yeah, kudos to him.
Did you go to high school with him?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we met in high school. We were both in high school. We met actually 15 years old. We both met, been through everything together. He was the best man at my wedding, and we've been through thick and thin together for 45 years. 45 years.
Oh my gosh. I actually did go to the studio on 34th Street,
right.
35th Street. I did Pat Dixon's show a couple times. This was years ago. Right. And then Anthony, I've met over time. But we were on the same show. So, Sid, when the late Bernie McGurk, all right.
Right. Yeah. So
so they did a comedy night. This is before they were bought by ABC. So right. They'd done a comedy night at the Cutting Room 1 year. And the second year they did it at the Hard Rock. So I did it and Anthony was there. So, and he was on, he was brilliant. That wasn't really the first time I saw him do stand-up.
Yeah. And, he's very good. He's very good at it. Here's the thing. They were doing the Opie and Anthony Traveling Virus show. Those guys were up in Connecticut. They were at the Mohegan in the theater. And Anthony goes up there and he riffs about 20 minutes the night before with the guys. And I'm sitting in the green room and Opie's wife goes, he's doing a great set. I go, I know. She comes back into the green room. I go, I don't understand why you don't try to do this. Oh, well, I don't get it. The great thing that happened on the Comedians of the Compound tour, I would go out with those guys, and then I would watch Ant go up, and he was, he's doing great. And the thing about the interesting thing is that Anthony and myself and Adam starting together, we all said we're going to do this together. It's all well, you know how this business is. It didn't turn out that way. Everybody had to go their different ways to do it. So when we started to get our feet, wet in this stuff, and making our own ways, there were nights that we came together. It was so good to start working with Adam, at regulation shows, which was great. We dreamed about this. We're doing it. I played in bands and have done gigs everywhere with Anthony as musicians, because Anthony's a lead singer. We've done it as musicians, God, since the early 80s. We've been musicians together. So been there, done that, As stand-ups together, to follow Anthony or, to go, it's just mind-blowing to me. It's just something we've dreamed of as much as being musicians. So I tell the audience before I leave, I go, look, Anthony and I have dreamed about this. And I go, for the simple fact that we're here and we're doing it, if anybody tells you don't follow your dreams, tell them to go to hell, because you work at it and it can come true. So it's, it's interesting. I'm glad he's doing stand-up, because he's one of the most brilliant comedy minds I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I actually have this line, because I gave up a career in finance to do this. And I say, people always tell you to follow your dreams, but they don't really mean it. So anyway, as a matter of fact, the name of my dry bar comedy special is Dreams Don't Come True. So, but that's my path. So this is really, if you're a real comedy lover, the roast of Rich Voss, which I think you can get for $5 someplace, just is very funny. And if you know,
I was.
All right. If you know of any of these, you should just do it, even if you don't know. I know some things are like a little inside jokes, but it was so. Even if not, it was so funny. And there's the riff between Voss and Anthony Cumia, and these are two guys that are masters at audience work and ripping, and you will never win the argument, or you will never win the riff with either one of those. Yeah. They're the best, and they were going at it, in a funny way. Obviously,
the funny thing about it is, and like I said, I love Ant. He's one of my best friends in the world, but he got a little tipsy. He was almost like the drunk lady at table 3 towards But yeah, he is a one-line. I remember we had our band was playing one. I was Rot Gut, and we dressed. It was punk funk. We dressed like John Glenn. If you know John Glenn's the entertainer. John Glenn said it was the best live show on Long Island bar none, because we would pull out the stops. But there was one night that there was this girl that was the girlfriend of like the band before us or after us, and starts heckling Anthony. And Anthony just stopped for 5 minutes and ripped her. She was almost in tears. Funniest thing I've ever seen. And he wasn't even a comic then. He was a lead singer of the band, and just laced into her. So he can work off the cuff like nobody I've ever seen.
And it was funny, in that riff with Voss, they were going at it for, I'm sure it was longer, but they cut it or something. I don't know. But it was 5 minutes into it. And Anthony goes, we can do this all night if you want. And it was so funny. It was so funny. So you've got your music, you've got your comedy. I see you, you're booked, you're all over the place. You're a road warrior, as is your podcast partner Davin.
Yes.
I don't know who logs in more hours. I mean, Davin he drives every place. I can't, I don't know. I have my limits.
He's going out to Michigan. He's going out to Michigan next week. He's a road. And I got to tell you, talking about somebody that can work off the cuff, Davin is pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
That's a skill I don't have. I'm not that good at crowd work. So I could just maybe say one or two things, but he could stop with the best of them and just go off. So he's very good. Very funny guy too.
He's got a very quick mind. And I hope you ignite your show about your life, because that's got so much comedy in it. And I have to tell you, I'm no Susan Tartaglione, but like, I can see it, I
just hope like the people that pick up scripts or HBO or, Netflix could see we're trying out. But there's another thing that we're working on. Like I said, it was a play. It's a show about weight loss, and it's called The Weight of the World. And it's about a bunch of people trying to lose weight together. And we're actually going to, I got to talk to my writing partner, Tammy. We made a musical of it. And I think we're gonna go for the musical version of it. John Glenn is interested in it. So I gotta, and everybody's been so busy. I haven't even had a chance to catch up to her, but that's on the books. And then I have this other alter ego I call Dick Eldorado. I dress like a cowboy and I do. So yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. Yeah.
I love it. It's fun. And then, and what about, like, what do you do for non-work life? What have you been, socially? Did you get a chance to go out? To your family?
Oh, yeah. I'm into classic cars, so I'm into classic cars. So I go to, during the summer, I'll go down to Oak Beach on the island. Have the classic car shows there, and then I'll go out to, a car museum and stuff like that, So yeah, I have fun. I feed my deer. I have a herd of deer that live outside my house. So I feed them every morning. And it's such a production with them. They wait there like dogs. They come out and then they run away. And I'm like, I'm feeding you. Why do you run away? And then they sit there and stare at me till I go back in the house and then they eat. But that's my life. I like it. It's nice and quiet out here in Middle Island.
Well, a lot of deer in Jersey too. I mean,
Yeah.
where my sister lives in Bergen County, which is not like the woods. I
Yeah.
mean, they just like 6 of them walk across the street and they'll stop in the middle of Main Street and like look at you, like, what are you looking at? Like they have attitude.
Oh, yeah.
They're like mafia deer, you know.
Oh yeah.
They're like they'll kill you.
My deer will stand on my lawn, and I'll open up the shades of my bed, and they're standing there pissed. You're a little late, Chief. We're hungry. And I'm right out. So for these wild animals, they're wild and they run and they rely on me. No, they don't. They rely on me.
So funny. So may I ask, like socially, like are you involved? Are you single? Are you?
I got a girlfriend. I got a girlfriend.
Okay. Because you shouldn't be out in the wild. You should be with somebody. Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't get to see her as much as I do because I tell you, I live alone, and sometimes the quiet. It's so quiet out here. I gotta go, and I wind up talking to myself, and I'm like, all right, this isn't normal. Yeah, personality. But it's nice. I got, like I said, my marriage, I left my marriage 6 years ago. I look back on it, and I'm like, I don't even know how I did it. So to be alone, it's kind of nice. It's kind of a break, but we'll see what happens. I take it one day at a time.
I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I remember when I read your post that you were and your wife were splitting up, and it was one of the most congenial we broke up posts I've ever read. I mean, every once in a while you'll read, somebody saying they broke up, they this and that. I've been through torment. She cheated on me. It was like this whole, I just read one not that long ago. This isn't what I wanted, but this is what she wanted. And I'm like, oh my God. But yours was, if I remember correctly, it was, there's no drama. This is just what we decided to do. Everything is fine. We're both happy. It was like your publicist put out this statement.
But then it got to the co-owner series of posts where she would do. On Facebook they have a look back at past posts, and there was a post that I put up that I said. Essentially, there was people that were interested in buying my house. There were two, not these people. Those people didn't buy it, but the people after them. But anyway, they were coming for the third time to look at the house, and they were bringing their family and stuff like that. We had to be out of the house. We had to leave and get out of the house for these people. I'm like, we got to go. We got to go. I'm still getting. I go. We got to go now. I go. We're 2 months away from bankruptcy. And she laughed at me. She started laughing and the frustration level. I'm like, and I put in the post, I go, the only thing that kept me from killing her is I'm just hearing, hey man, you on my bunk. And what she would do is she would just do all these things in the course of us selling the house and not helping and not doing anything. And my retaliation was just writing the co-owner series, and saying what she would do. Like there's one joke I do in my act. We had merry maids come in to clean up the house, but we wanted to get it ready. We had a mantle on top of the fireplace, and it had all these tchotchkes on there. So I go, you got to dust. So I start taking them down. She goes, I'll call the authorities. I go, who are you going to call? The knick-knack squad? Are they going to put me in a Hobby Lobby for 20 days? So I had to. What I've always done is anything that was a threat to me, I would goof on it to take the threat away. And that's what I did in that situation, and it served me very well just to get a little deep. When I was a kid, my father committed suicide when I was 6 years old. I was one of the last people to see him alive. And then after that, my mom had to go to work. I was lonely, and just creating characters, listening to George Carlin, Cheech and Chong, it kind of took the sting away. So much so that I met Cheech and Chong at a gig, and I thanked them. I told them, I go, look, I'm a stand-up comic, a bunch of years. I explained my backstory, and I go, I've always wanted to thank you guys for saving me, and thank you. And the funny thing is with Cheech Marin, when I told him I was a comic, he looked at me a little different. He didn't look at me like a fan coming up. He looked at me like I was one of the brethren, which was really cool. And that week, they were at Westbury Music Fair. I was at McGuire's. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but I have a frame of the advertisement of the week's comedy, and I'm on there with Cheech and Chong, which to me is going full circle, because these are the guys that want to make me do it, and I'm actually on the week's events with them. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. That's, I mean, I'm sorry about everything that you went through. That the trauma is,
you know what?
Unconscionable.
There was some of it there. Some of it affected me, not as much then, but later in my years. But the thing about it is, what got me through it was comedy, taking away the pain by laughing at it. So when I was saying the beginning is what Rob Bartlett did, with us, and how I like to go to the mics, and this, that, met you, lovely, funny woman, and helpful, and always because not only because I like you and you're a very sweet person and funny, but I owe this business. A lot of comedians go, this business did that. It's done it to me, but I owe it. I owe it. At any portion of my life in this business, I owe this business. So, whatever happens, I roll with the punches.
Well, I was telling somebody, was it the podcast I did last week with a comic named Ralph Anthony, who's been in it about 6 years or so, and he just recorded his first album, and we talk about stand-up comedy, of course, and I said to him, I'll never forget one time I was at Brokerage, and Monty Hoffman, you remember the late Monty Hoffman?
Yeah, what a nice man he was.
And we were talking, and I was really complaining, and he goes, no one puts a gun to your head. You don't have to be if you don't want to. And I was like, you're right. I mean, I'm not bragging or anything, but I have an MBA in finance. Like, I have a CPA. Like, I could go out and get another kind of a job. Something like I could do other things. So that is correct. It was my choice, and everything's really been my choice. So, but it's a challenge, and I think that you have to have a good balance. You have to have a life balance, and you have to have a life.
You have to.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Because where we are in comedy now is a lot of us veterans are not working as much as we used to. And the reason why is that you have all these TikTok stars coming in that have maybe 10 minutes of decent material, whatever, but they're filling the club, and we're sitting at home. Now, on the other side of it, you look at the club and like, well, if you want to pay the light bills and if you can fill the venue, you're more than welcome. So you got to look at it that way too, Right. But the thing about it is that you got to figure something out. You got to come in with a new angle.
Well, for me personally, I mean, if a club called, or I have no problem with it as long as the money's there. Although I will say, I've had some opportunities out of state, and it's not worth it. I mean, it's not worth it. I mean, I'm not going to go someplace where it's going to cost me. That's for sure. Or I'm going to make a few $100s. I mean, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I like to do private stuff. I can work clean. I have no problem with that. I'm not raunchy, and I can get, as I say, spicy. I love Long Island audiences because you can let it rip and say anything that you want, but I'm not raunchy. And if you say you can't say anything, you can't even say shit. You can't. As a matter of fact, my dry bar comedy special, because it's in Utah and they're Mormons.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the contract said no cursing. I didn't even say hell. Now I've seen some others and they've cursed a bit. So I don't know. I don't know what went on. All I know is I didn't want to have an issue. I didn't want to have a problem. So I've changed everything. Although I feel like it held me back a little bit, because you know how it is. you
Yeah.
know, especially when you're filming, like I was filming it, you know, if I wasn't filming it, it'd be different. I would make fun of it a little bit more I'd say something that I really want to say, but you know, you get the point. But what I was going to say was I like doing the private stuff, parties, corporates. I love corporate gigs, fundraisers, country clubs. Like, you know, that's my wheelhouse. I mean, that's what I really, you go, the pay is better. It's, you know, I'm professional, I'm on time, this, that, you know, I can do an hour, you know, I like that. Yeah.
Because the clubs are changing. But with that being said, there's a lot of other venues to do, you know, and you know, and a gig's a gig. You know, so if you know if the regular clubs you've been working are like, well, we want this, all right, that's fine, it's your place. You know, it's your name on the thing. You know, but this, you know, you still keep on good terms with them, which I am. You know, you go there, you know, try to do a spot or whatever. Right. But there's all these other places to do, and so much to do. You know, to do within the bit, acting gigs. You know, like create a character, do a character. You know, so there's so much to do. You know, so it's, you know, you keep going.
Yeah. So let me ask you, cancel culture. So what's your whole take on that? So you know, Anthony is the extreme in terms of espousing his political viewpoints. Where do you feel we're on the spectrum, or even doesn't have to be a political thing? You could just say something the wrong way or describe somebody the wrong way, and you know, then
absolutely.
So it's not just politics, it's like anything. So where do you stand on that?
What I tell audiences is that it not only affects entertainers if they say something, it affects you when it starts. It's going to stop when it starts affecting more people that have regulation jobs. Where if you say something by the copy machine and somebody in the office feels that it's not the wrong way, you know, you can get into big trouble. You could get suspended. You could get fired over something as silly as that. It's got to stop. It's killing free speech in this country, and it's kind of like the cancer within our society.
It's like, even if you don't address somebody by their pronoun, which I just look, I don't give a shit what you do, who you're with, who you're sleeping with. Well, you're not committing a crime, obviously, you know, I don't give a shit. I don't know how we came to this place where you're who you prefer to have sex with or who you know, what you feel that you are has taken the forefront of society to the point, and what you just said was right on the money, because my husband works in corporate America, where they want to retrain everybody, where you have to say this, it's company policy, you can get canned. I mean, it's insane. It's so out of control.
We're going to be a country of lemmings because we can't say anything. Now, the whole thing with the way things are going. Let's take, for example, the drag shows. All right, they've been having drag shows forever, ever. Never bothered anybody. No, but when you start wanting to do drag shows in libraries, and when you want to start doing them in public places with children, that's a problem. Because what you're doing is you're taking your agenda and you're pushing it on people. And the thing about it is you just live your life, but don't push your agenda. And that's where we're going with the whole thing with the pronouns and the verbs and whatever. They're pushing their agenda on everybody. Look, I have a lesbian couple living next door. The two of the most sweetest people I've ever met in my life. They watch over me. They take care of me when I was heat. They offered me food. When I was moving in, they made me dinner. They're two of the most sweetest. I love them to death. However, if you come over to my house and say, I want you to fly a rainbow flag on your house, no. I'll watch your house. I'll be respectful of your flag. It's your life. But don't come over with your flag to my house and force it on me. And that's what they're doing. They're forcing their agenda on everybody, and it's getting to the point where it's becoming too much. The whole thing with everybody getting offensive about speech, they're putting their agenda on everybody. And as comics, we have to take a stand. I did a joke in my act that about the athletes kneeling for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I forgot what the joke was, but this guy came up to me after a show and goes, I really want to know what your belief is in that joke. And I go, I'll tell you why. I go, is there injustice in the world, in our country? I go, is there racism? Is there, I go, yes, there is. However, that song, the national anthem, that song plays for 1 minute and 50 seconds. In that period, it celebrates the chance to change. You can't do that in Russia. You can't do that in China. You can't, but you could do it here. And that celebrates the chance to make things better. And I go, okay. So if you go out as a comic and you have to do material like that, you better have a damn good backstory. But still, you have to, explain it. And it's getting crazy where you watch what you say, and they're pushing the envelope every day on this, and it's got to stop. Hopefully, there's some pushback. It's starting a little bit, but I don't think there's enough.
And I also think it's become a society of bullies. So it's people that just want to ruin your life because of something that you said that has nothing to do with them. So they just want you to be miserable. They want you to be unemployed. They want you to be on the dole. I don't know what goes into their head. Why do they can hate you? It's okay to be like, God, that guy's a dick. Like, you have the right to say that or do that, but go out of your way to harm that person, especially when it comes to whatever their livelihood is just, it's beyond. It's just
now beyond. The perfect example of this is Anthony's brother Joe. Joe's a musician. He's been my mentor, and I've played in plenty of bands with him. He goes out and he plays in a lot of tribute bands. He does his own acoustic thing. And because he was Anthony's brother, there was a contingent of people that was costing him work. And he lost a lot of gigs and stuff. He actually wound up on the People's Court and sued one of the guys and won. He won, but it got to the point where people are trying. And Joe is a gifted musician. He's amazing. As Anthony is funny, Joe is talented as a musician. And he was losing work because there was these contingent of people that want to take work away from people. A friend of mine, who was hanging out with our crew, she was posting stuff on Facebook. Somebody wanted to try to get her fired. She worked in IT. The boss said, absolutely not. God forbid somebody called my place. It's like, well, Joe says that every 20 minutes, But it gets to a point where it needs to stop. There has to be pushback on it.
Right. I agree with you. I stopped posting anything political on Facebook a long time ago when I found that I was wasting time. Days were going by. I was breaking up fights between people that were responding to the posts. I mean, and sometimes it gets so crazy. Like I'll put something on, not meaning political at all, and it'll like somehow, because people are responding, and then it morphs into, and they're fighting, and I'm just like, oh, stop it. My God, you people, you're crazy. So I was like totally done with that. The only thing I do is because I'm a native New Yorker. I have and I've paid a lot of tax in my day. I have the right to criticize the mayor, governor, anybody in charge for the fucking shit that they've put this city, and they've made it a ghetto between the weed and the bike lanes and the crime and the fact that they don't arrest criminals, or they arrest them, but they don't prosecute them. The abuse of the cops. And this isn't about wrongs are wrong. If a cop does something wrong, of course, absolutely. That's it. You're done. You take your pension away, and that's the end of the story. That's it. I mean, I'm not, no one's defending that. But to set cop cars on fire and to all this destruction, and it's horrible. And we had de Blasio was just the worst of the worst of the worst.
Horrible.
And this guy is, a scotch better. I mean, he just has a better personality, because de Blasio had no personality, had personality of a gnat. He's, very little, like a little bit. I am seeing more cops on the subway, that I am seeing, but it's just horrible. But it's more than, so I will, like, we had not that far from me, there was a robbery not robbery. There was a murder in a bodega. Excuse me, a deli. They're not bodegas. It was a deli. Guy got shot. 3rd Avenue and 81st Street. Great, like you not in a million years. And so I posted something. I put it more on like my story on Instagram story about it because they wrote a letter outside. Right. They reopened. It was a very heartfelt letter.
I think I heard about that story. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, New York news. It definitely would have made it. Anyway, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but like something like that, I might, I'll say something. That type of thing, I will say something. But short of that, I stay out of the presidential. I have my opinion. You want to talk to me one-on-one, I will talk to you. But, like posting it, because you never really get your whole point across anyway. So you can say something and it just gets twisted. And I just can't. I just don't have the stomach for it.
Well, I got a call from my niece. My niece is, my family is weird because my father was 19 years older than my mom. And I have a half brother who's like 90. So it's my family's kind of wacky. We all laugh about it. But I have a niece of mine, very liberal. I love my niece to death. She's 2 years younger than me. She writes, we were talking about a family issue one time, and she goes, "Oh, by the way, I don't like your posts. I don't want might unfriend you because I don't want my children reading what you write." And I go, first of all, your children are 3 and 4. I go, I'm not going to get it. And I go, number 2, I go, you could always debate me about it. I go, you got to understand. I go, I do a political show every Tuesday. I go on my buddy's show. That is a political show. And at the time, Aunt was trying to get me on Red Eye. And I go, I'm trying to get on Fox News as a commentator. I go, this is what I comment. I go, you're always welcome to debate me, but you can't shut me down. And they're from a very liberal contingent. And people that are very extremely liberal do not want to hear another side of an argument at all.
Yeah.
At all. Yep. If you're, you listen to Davin's Den. Davin is kind of middle of the road, but he kind of leans a little left. Is very left, and I'm the token conservative. So it could be a battle royale. 3 weeks ago we had a battle royale over the whole drag queen thing, and but at least they want to entertain. You see, with them we can entertain it, we can dissect it, we can go back and forth, we can break everything down, we can put it back together. People that are extremely liberal don't want to do that. And it's horrible where the city is.
It's the same thing, I think, with the vaccine. And yes, I'm throwing it as a liberal, a liberal talking point because I don't like drugs. Like I don't take anything, right? I'm like, that's already my mindset before any of this. So when that came out, I'm like, I don't want but on the same token, I was like, all right, but there's medical doctors and, people that are talking about this. I mean, it's not like this is my wheelhouse. Anyway, very long story short. Now here we are 3 years later. And I feel if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want to get 17 vaccinations and boosters, then that's you. Absolutely. That's your choice. Don't tell me what to do. I got the first one. I did get the and then that was it. I was done. I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is already uncomfortable. And I only did it because I couldn't go anyplace in this city. I had to show a card. I mean, that was way too much for me. That was Nazi Germany as far as I was concerned.
I totally
and just the bullshit, right? Just the bullshit. Like if you're outside, if you're here, you don't get COVID, but if you're here, you get COVID. It was a way for the city to fine you. It was just so awful. It makes my blood boil.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it was all nonsense, but I got the shot. And then I got, because I wanted to work, and I got it. I got it the second time. Yeah, I got the second shot. I think I forget if I got a third, but I got one. I got one in this past November. And the reason I did was, and we got in a big argument. Oh, well, you say you don't want. Yeah, but here's the thing. For the past 15 years, I play Santa Claus. I go out to private homes and I do Santa Claus. And I wanted that thing in my bag because I don't want a parent, because, it's decent money. I don't want to be in the steps of a home and go, you were vaccinated or what, and then told I got to go if I'm not. So I got it because I want to play the game. I need to make money in December. It's one of my biggest cash months. And, I did it. I do think, it's the biggest scam ever perpetrated on the public. And I think they did that. And to tell you the truth, the whole thing with the outbreak, I think maybe in our lifetime, maybe in the next lifetime, they're going to find out that this was a whole sham perpetrated by China because they saw how well Trump was doing, and they were worried about Trump getting reelected, and they didn't like it, especially with the stance on China, with the sanctions and the tariffs and everything. Yep. And I think the only way they figured they could take him down is by creating this whole, this whole virus. Now, in Trump's detriment, the way he handled it, right, every day at the press conference, stop arguing with CNN. Would you just stop arguing with them? Never mind. Just tell everybody I'm going to let Fauci and Pence finish the conference. I got to go work the phones, go behind the big door. So Trump shoots himself in the foot too. And maybe they even figured that. But I do think that about the election. Well, do you have proof? No. But I'll probably be dust in a casket by the time it comes out. But I do think the history books will find that a lot of this was fixed.
Well, I'm definitely with you on the whole virus thing. It was definitely planted by China. It was clearly it was a real thing because people died, yeah. And before they can contain it, it was out of control. Plus, they were putting people on ventilators and all. The treatment, they didn't know how to treat it. It was just it was so horrible for the people that lost people. And don't tell me the old people, whatever. If you're 80, you could still live another 15 years for God's sake. So it was not about that. But that was how the virus was created to get rid of the
way life was. I had my aunt, God rest her soul, passed away 2 years ago, in the middle of a pandemic, and we finally had the wake for her, and we had I came out from the island. I went out to the funeral home in Staten Island. I had to wear gloves. I'm wearing a mask, and we're all there's only 12 of us. And then we were going to the cemetery, and there's only a certain amount of cars that were allowed to go to the cemetery. Only 2 cars. There was 3 cars, and a lot of it was the grandkids. And I'm like, you want to know something? I go, that's fine. We'll catch up later. And I'm going back to the island, and I actually passed the funeral procession, past the hearse with my aunt in it. And I'm like, all right. And I drove past. I didn't go to the cemetery. If I dreamt that, that's like a dream. You wake up, yeah, holy cow, I went to the thing, I had to wear a mask. Then I actually passed the hearse because I had to go home. It was like surreal, but it was reality. That's just how crazy things got 2 years ago.
What I was going to say before, we were talking about your liberal niece. I have a cousin, very liberal. And also, I find sometimes people like that, I call them contrarians, because no matter what you say, even if they agree with you, they won't give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll always say the opposite. I have an uncle like that too. I love him to death, but he's a contrarian. But anyway, my cousin was very the mask, the this, the that. She's got 2 little kids. She had them boosted, whatever. As soon as the shot came out, she had them shot. I tell you right now, if I had kids, there's no effing way.
No, I would not.
No effing way. But anyway,
the head of the household, I'll do it. I got to do it. I got to bring food. I got to pay the mortgage. I got to take care of this family. I'll do it. I'll take the hit. My kids? No, not going to happen.
So my point was, right, so she's big into whatever they said. If Joe Biden said it, Kamala Harris said it, or whatever, they've gotten COVID 3 times.
Yeah.
All of them. It's just like, okay, so it's just crazy. But I'll tell you another really, really quick story. So sometimes I do some background work because, got to get some money. Yep. And last week, I was going to do, I'll tell you when we get off air, but I was going to do a show. And as a matter of fact, I fit all the criteria. And I said, they said, you vax, and I said, no, and I was truthful. And I said, I'm vaxxed, but not boosted. So I said, but I'll take as many COVID tests as you want, which is really the way that it should be, right? I mean, it's like, because the booster, they're still into the mentality that the booster cures it, or you're not going to give it to somebody. It's insane.
Well, what they're saying is it lessens it, which I think.
But that has nothing to do with, that's me. If that's true, that's about me. If I get it, I won't be as sick. That has nothing to do with the next person, because if I have it, I have it, right? Anyway, I mean, there are people that have it that were asymptomatic that don't even know that they had it.
Yeah.
So anyway, the health and safety person called, text is all text. I didn't get to talk to anybody. So I said the same thing. I go, listen, I'm, vax, not boosted. I said, I'll take as many tests as you want. She goes, would you come in? And this was Sunday to work Monday. She goes, would you come in and get a booster today? And I I wrote back and I said, I'm sorry, I choose not to take the booster, but again, I'll take as many COVID tests. So here's the sick part, right? And I don't know if this is like a liberal thing, but just like how out of control the whole vaccine thing is. So if I come in and do a booster today, which I don't know how, doesn't it like take a little bit to like take effect, right? I mean, does like, so I'm okay. As long as you check that box, that's okay. Right. What happens if I get myocarditis 2 months from now? Like, you're going to say, tough shit, that's your problem, right? I mean, but it was such bullshit. So if I said yeah, which I wouldn't, but you know, if I said yes, then that would have been okay. A booster that wouldn't have done anything, done anything, just so you could check the box. That's criminal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, yeah. And the way we did it, you release a drug that, you know, the Food and Drug Administration has to approve it. It goes through all these tests, and they're coming out and saying, oh, well, no, it's fine. There's no side effects. There's no side effect. And you want to know something? I go, after 9/11, when they were saying, oh, the air is fine to breathe. Christy Todd Whitman came out and said, oh, there's nothing wrong with the air. And you look at, I go, you're kidding me, right? How could there not be something wrong with the air? And they were lying. I think they had to lie not to even create more chaos. Whether it was right or wrong, you know, it will be a discussion for years and years to come. But, you know, with the government telling you there's not a problem, when you could clearly see there's a problem, you know, I don't believe it, you know, but yeah.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you. And it's like these are things like boosters and all this, like, you know, when we started, you know, none of this was in the vernacular. Cancel this, that, whatever. I mean, either, you know, if you suck, you didn't get hired. If if you did well, you know, they asked you back. I mean, it just used to be, it felt like it was so much simpler. It wasn't like you have to make 15,000 videos a day so you can get attention. You know, it's like, I know I don't want to do that. I mean, I like hate posting as it is, you know. But
well, you know what the funny thing is, I'm the same way. It's like sometimes if there was like with the Dick Eldorado character, which you can find on Dick Eldorado on Facebook, there'll be times where I really want to do something. Time is of the essence, and it's like 10:30 at night, and I'm like, I can't believe it's, and I got to dress like a cowboy, and I'm like a moron. What's wrong with me? Yeah.
Oh my God, I could talk to you all night.
I know.
Tell people where they can find you everywhere. Give us social media, all of that.
Sure, I will be. You can go on Facebook, Joe Currie on Facebook, and then you have Joe Currie Nation on Facebook. I am on Joe Currie Comedy Music on Instagram. I'm on Plankfoot on Twitter. Our show, Davin's Den, phenomenal show. If I could give you a little insight on what we do, we talk about politics, we talk about current events, silly stories. But what our calling card is, we scam scammers. A lot of people are scammed, and a lot of people have been taken for their life savings. A lot of people have killed themselves being scammed. What we do is we scam these scammers. Davin goes out and he pretends he's lonely, whatever, and we rake these people over the coals. We waste their time so they're not harassing other people. We have been, the Army consults us if there's soldiers being scammed. We've been featured on American Greed on what we do. We disabled the $2 billion lawsuit against Match.com because we exposed the scammers on it. So we do a lot of good. So we're live every Tuesday, 6:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Go to davincomedy.com. Go to Davin's Den. You have the live link there, or you can check us out on the Facebook or Davin's Den Facebook page. We're live on there. You can see the replays. So yeah, it's a good show. We do a lot of good for people. I'm also going to be with the governor's Giggle Room this Saturday, the 25th. So go to govs.com, click Giggle Room, and get your tickets.
Everybody, well, you're a regular. This will probably air Monday. So, but you're a regular at McGuire's or Brokerage, Governors all the time. So check out Joe. He's hilarious. He's such a nice guy. And your music. I got to check out your. I have to.
Yeah, go to Fragile Sky Music. Or just click on Fragile Sky and I'll bring you there. We had great tunes. We put out an EP last year. Check us out. We'll be out in a couple of months.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And I am Ellen Karis. Find me Instagram, Twitter at Greek Chick Comic, Ellen Karis Greek Goddess Comedy on Facebook, or go to my website, ellenkaris.com, where you can hear this podcast on the other ones that we have done for the last 9 seasons. We are sweet and salty here. Thank you, everybody. Till next time. Bye.